Hi everybody, welcome to the next in my series of Updated for 2024 Complete New Starter Beginner's Guide to Modding Console DayZ Community Servers. Although a lot of the stuff I talk about is just as applicable for DayZ on PC. So in this video we're going to be talking about time. How to adjust the way that time passes on your server. So in other words, to make night time shorter if you want to, and maybe daytimes longer, and also when your server starts and what that means in terms of what time it starts and things like that. However, before we start though, I'd just like to remind everybody that in the description below this video you'll find a link to the playlist for all these updated for 2024 beginners guides. So if you want to click on that, you can scroll through and see which particular subject interests you. Also, what I've done is in the description as well is there's the link to the previous video I've done and a link to the next video I've done. If there's no link there, it means I haven't done the next video yet. Because I've tried to record these videos in some sort of logical order. So if you're new to this, you can work through them at your own pace, and it's probably the similar pace that you'll be modding your server to. Because actually, what you see I'm working on, the Nitrado Xbox Community Server you see I'm working to, I'm actually modding this server as we go along at the same time. So you'd start off with this one, DayZ Console Community Server, why should you buy, and then work your way through them like this and as we go along. In this video as well, we're going to be using a most excellent resource called DayZ Booster. It's at dayzboosters.com, and I'll put a link to this in the description below the video as well. Absolutely fantastic website that we're going to be using a lot. So here we go. So I've logged into my Nitrado account, and we click on the web interface for our particular server, and we want to go into the general settings. So you click on settings general, and that will bring us here. So we scroll down, and there's a number of different things that affect time. And let's look at the obvious one first: the server time multiplier and the server time multiplier night. So if we assume that night takes 12 hours and day takes 12 hours, what we can do is we can say actually that's a little bit too long or a little bit too short. So we can actually change things. So for example, if we change the server time multiplier, which just applies to the day, to 2, that means that time will travel twice as fast during the day. So it won't be a 12-hour day, it will be a 6-hour day. And we could do a similar thing to night as well. So let's say we wanted the night not to last 12 hours, but 6 hours. We could change it to 2. And you think, oh, right, okay, so that's quite useful. And you think, well, actually, one of the big benefits of having a community server for yourself that you can control is that you can have very, very short nights indeed if you want. And you could say, okay, so how about if we wanted it to be 3 hours long the night, So that's doubling it again, isn't it? So that would be 4, wouldn't it? So if the time travels 4 times as fast, 12 divided by 4 is 3. So nights would be 3 hours long. And you think, all right, well that's quite fast, but not be quite fast enough. Now you can work it out in your head, but this is where dayzboosters.com comes in handy. And again, there'll be a link in the description below this video. And when you go there, you go to this page, which is the day-night calculator. And all you have to do is under day duration, just put in how long you want the hours to be. So let's say I want a 6-hour day, like that. Okay, now when you go on to the night one, the night figure is in minutes. Because most of the time you're doing this because you want your nights to be really short. Because maybe you don't have that much time to play DayZ, and don't get me wrong, nighttime DayZ is almost like a different game. It's a fantastic experience once you're better at the game and you know what you're doing. But when you're starting off, and if you've got, say, a beginner-friendly server, it's not a good thing. So let's say, actually, we want our night duration to only be 30 minutes. And it calculates it anyway, but you could click calculate. It's not making a difference. And there we have, up here, the value. So it tells us if we want our days to be 6 hours long, we need to put a day multiplier in of 2. So that's good. So we've already done that. And then if we want to put a night duration in of only 30 minutes, we need to put a night multiplier of 12. So we can just go there We can put 12. And half an hour, that's fine, isn't it? And then we would hit save. And then we would restart the server. I'm not going to restart it quite yet, because there's a couple of other things I want to do. Now, there are reasons why it won't be exactly half an hour, and it won't be exactly 6 hours, because not only do you have nighttime and daytime, but you have dawn and dusk. And also, this is where DayZ gets very clever, it takes into account the time of year. So during the summer, the days are longer and the nights are shorter. And during the winter, the nights are longer and the days are shorter, because Chernihiv and Livonia, they're both in the northern hemisphere above the equator, a long way above the equator, sort of Eastern Europe sort of area. So that does make a difference. So just think about that think of how that will affect other things as well, like the temperature. But we're not going to cover that in this video. So now we've got these other settings down here: system time, custom server time, and persistent server time. So what do they mean? Actually, one step backwards. This statement here, where it says this value is also multiplied by the server time acceleration value, is wrong. They need to get rid of that, Nitrado, because that's wrong now. It doesn't work. They work separately. Okay, so now let's go on to these things. Use system time, custom server time, and persistent server time. So you may remember in the previous video, we talked about server restarts and how to make your server restart every 10 hours. And we activated that. And what this basically says is that if you have used system time, this means that when the server restarts, it will restart with the local time of the machine. You think, right, okay, so what does that mean? So what it means is every 10 hours, in the case of the previous video, the server will restart, and it won't restart at the time that the server was actually at. So let's say the game time was 12 o'clock in the afternoon when the server restarted. So it restarted, it was 12 o'clock, and it was good. But let's say this server, which is in Germany, it was actually the real time outside, in the real world, was 1 o'clock in the morning. So what would happen then is, when the server restarts, it would go, okay, there's this setting here that says use system time, so it's now 1 o'clock in the morning. So it'd then be dark on your server. So that's a bit, so you're like, oh, that's not particularly good, is it? So you'd be like, oh, right, okay. So you may well want to turn that off. And then you may want to have that as well, persistent server time. So what happens then is that as the server is going along and the server is restarting, it will remember the time it was, and it will restart then. So if it restarts and it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, when it restarts, it will be 1:05 in the afternoon, which is quite good. So it continues on, and that can be good for players, because when they're wandering around, it's daytime and the server restarts and it's still daytime, or they're wandering around, it's nighttime and the server restarts and it's nighttime. That sort of thing. That can be very good as well. However, there may be another way you want to do it. You may well want it so that the server restarts at a particular time, and that's where custom server time comes in. So what you do with custom server time, so at the moment this is set that when the server restarts, when the server does a restart, it will restart at 12 o'clock on the 1st of January 2019. So if we untick that there, what we could actually do with this is we could say, okay, so let's change that to June, and let's change this to, I don't know, 08:30 in the morning, like that. Ooh. Like that. There we go. So what's going to happen now is when the server does its 10-hour restart, and it restarts, the server will go, okay, so it's not system time, it's not persistent time, it's this time. And so as soon as the server restarts, it restarts back at the 1st of June at 8:30 in the morning. What this in effect gives you, if you use this sort of setting, is because our server is only running for 6 hours, 10 hours before it does a restart, and then it has 6 hours of day, and then we only have half an hour of night. It means that the majority of the time that people spend on the server, chances are it will be during the daytime, because whenever the server restarts, if it restarts at, say, on the server time is, say, 10 o'clock, so it's dark, it will restart and it'll be in the morning again. Or let's say the server restarts and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, the server, when it restarts, will be 8:30 in the morning again. So you can get this sort of almost continuous daylight. If you wanted it to be continuous daylight all the time, what you could do is, if you change the server time multiplier to 1, so days last 12 hours, well, we know our server in this case restarts every 10 hours. So it's never going to get to the evening, because by the time 10 hours comes along, the server's going to restart, and it's going to restart at 8:30 in the morning. That makes a very beginner-friendly type of experience, especially as we change the month to June. Because, as I alluded to before, not only does the DayZ server know that during the winter nights are longer and days are shorter, it also knows that it's colder in the winter and warmer in the summer. So it's less of a challenge in terms of temperature. So that's something you may well want to think about. How do you do it? So how do I do it on my servers? Well, on my easy servers, so the ones that are friendly, that have boosted loot and things like that, I do it exactly like this. Whenever there's a server restart, it's 8:30 in the morning in the summer. So it's nice and warm. It's a nice, pleasant experience. Doesn't challenge your survivors too much, and it's fairly easy. On my other servers, my hardcore servers, where things are a bit more challenging, what I'll do there is I use persistent server time. And that way you get a yearly cycle that's happening. So the servers always remembers what time it is. It always remember what the season is, what the date is, if you like, as it's going along. So we do kind of get, I hesitate to really use the word autumn and winter and spring and summer, or fall and winter, because it's not like it snows or anything like that, but it does get colder. Where you tend to notice this more is when you're at the higher areas of the map. So on Chernus, when you're near the sort of the northwest and you're up in the high areas, there at night, high up, it can get very, very cold. Obviously, if your character's getting wet and that sort of thing. So make the decision for yourself. Again, for an easy server, I would probably use this sort of setting, where every time the server starts, it's 8:30 in the morning in the summer. And you've got a long server time multiplier of 1 or 2, and then we've got a server time multiplier for night of 12. So our nights are going to be nice and short. And there we go. And so all we would do is we would just save that there, and then we would click restart, and the server would restart, and it would do it. Actually, did I do this wrong here? The value is not. All right, sorry. I do apologise. I missed out a slash there. There we go. Save changes. See if that. There we go. That's how I should have done it. Yeah, hour, minute, year, month, day. Yeah, that's good. So there we go. So hopefully you found this video useful. If you have, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe, or click on the links in the description below the video as well to take you on to the next video or the previous video, or the playlist that encompasses all of these updated for 2024 videos. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.